Hi everyone, this is Beth Cooper. This is our Friday session of Draw With Me. We're working this week on elements for a camping scene. If this is your first time to join us, go back and look at the videos in order. You can find them either on Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube, and I'll give you that YouTube address here in just a little bit. I think I'm going to be transferring over to YouTube because I think it's a little bit too much for Instagram and Facebook. So anytime I have a new video posted, I'll just notify you that it's there, and then you can go out to YouTube and take a look at it. So far you are, if you are just starting out with this, remember that you are going to need a sharpened pencil. There's the sharpener. You're going to need an eraser, so we're going to erase everything at the end, and then we're going to need an inking pen. And so far this week we have done objects that represent things that we're going to put into the camping scene. Monday we did mountains and trees. Tuesday we did things that we were going to haul into camp, the lantern, the sleeping bag, and the tent. Wednesday we did some critters that we're going to find around the camp, an ant, a frog, and a dragonfly, and you can put as many in there as you want to. And then Thursday we did a fire ring, and we did some pretty heavy-duty 3D stuff with our camping chair and with our table. If you're going to go out to YouTube, if you're using the app, of course, all you have to do is search for Beth Cooper Portraits. You can either do that as all one word, or you can separate them. I think it'll find it both ways. Or if, of course, if you're working from a laptop, go to youtube.com and then look for Beth Cooper Portraits, and that'll point you to where all of these series are together. So if you want to just go one right after the other, they'll all be there for you, and you can watch them as much as you want to. Now I want to cover again a little bit the illusion of depth, because in this drawing we are going to be putting some things in the background, in the middle ground, and in the foreground. So the things that are going to make it look like it has depth are the several techniques and tricks that we used last week. I hope you remember these. First of all, size. Things that are closer to us are going to look larger, and we're going to place them, that's the placement, down lower on the page. Things that are further away are going to be smaller, and they're going to have less detail. And they're going to be placed higher on the page, closer to the horizon line, which we'll do again today. Overlapping says that those things that are closer to us are going to be in front, and those things that are further away are going to be lapped over, as we did with our trees in our forest, and those will be smaller. So let's begin. Hopefully you have a sketchbook. If you don't, just put your two pieces of paper side by side so you can see the elements that you've already created on one side, and then you have your drawing page on the other side. And we're going to start again the way we did with our beach scene by drawing very lightly. Everything we're going to do is going to be in pencil first, and we're going to draw a horizon line right across here like this. The horizon line is where the earth meets the sky in the distance, and anything that's below this is going to be obviously on the earth, and anything that's above it, well, not all. We're going to put some mountains at the horizon line, but everything else will be up in the sky. And I'm also going to put in here a little bit of a pond, because we want to have a place for our frogs and our dragonflies. So we're just going to put an idea of a pond right here. Only in pencil. If you don't like the way it works out, then you can always go back and erase it before you ink it in. All right, so for the background, the way we did before, we're going to start with our mountains. I'm going to move about an inch up from our horizon line. And remember, the mountains are really just sort of a zigzag line, and you want them to be varying in size and shape like this. I said before, it sort of reminds me of a heart monitor, although you don't want your heart to ever look like this. And then some of these mountains might look like they're coming in front of each other like this. So you can draw some lines down there like this. And some of them will look bigger and some of them will look smaller. Now in front of that, we're going to do some foothills, and the foothills will be about a ½ inch away from the horizon line, and we're going to do a wavy line that is not completely consistent all the way across. You want it to vary a little bit in the background to make it look more interesting. And then in front of that, we're going to do another zigzag line for our tree line. And again, you want some of them to be smaller, and you want some of them to be bigger. And it's okay if it crosses over your foothills. because in the distance, some of those trees, of course, will be taller and some of them will be shorter. And when we go to ink those in, we get to decide which lines we want to keep and which ones we don't. Okay? Also in the background, you might want to have some of your tallest peaks could have some snow on them, like that. And you remember when we drew in our mountains, we actually had some of them look more craggy. We did some zigzag and curvy lines on them. We'll do that when we go back with our ink pen. Now the next thing that we want to do is add in some trees. And remember we talked about the trees that are in front are taller, larger, and they're closer to us. So I'm going to put a few trees over to the right. I'm going to put some trees over to the left, but I'm going to leave a clearing in the middle so that we have room for our tent. I'm going to put just a few over on this side. We start our trees with long, tall triangles like this. And then remember we divide the tree several times with horizontal lines that go beyond the triangle. And the reason that we do that is because we go down from the point and we do a zigzag line across to the other side and then down to the other one like that. And then start again from that triangle, go down to the point, and then do a zigzag line across, all the way across, and then down to the other side, like this. Now you can make these wavy lines if you don't like it to be as pointy. You can certainly do a few curves in there. That works out just fine, like that. There's one tree. Now to make a tree look like it's further away, we're going to do another tall triangle, and it's going to overlap a little bit, and anywhere that it overlaps the tree that we've done in front, we don't want to draw that part of it. So these are just a guideline for us right now, and because it's further away, we don't need to have as much detail. So again, divide that tree with horizontal lines, and again from the point, go down like this. And since it's further away, there's not quite as much detail. We don't need to put too much into it. Okay, on the other side then, I'm going to do some more trees. I'm going to make a nice big tall one over here to the left, and I'm sorry about my left hand. I'll try not to cover up as much as possible. Triangular lines. Now as with the other one, if you want to change up your design at all, you are certainly welcome to do so. If you don't like the way I'm doing something and you want to change it up, since you know how to create all of those objects already, you can do that. I had one really successful beach scene that was sent to me. They completely changed it up because they did a horizontal scene instead of a vertical scene. I'm actually constricted to a vertical scene because I have my camera equipment only records that way close enough so that you can see everything. But if you want to go horizontal or landscape, because these are landscapes that we're drawing, you can certainly do that. Another long, tall triangle like that, divided into 3 sections. And you can do as many trees in your forest as you want to, but for the sake of time, I'm going to leave it there. Okay, now I am going to add a little bit of a horizon line, and instead of just going straight across, I'm going to curve it a little bit like this so it looks more natural. Okay, now there in the middle, as I said, I'm going to put my tent, and remember our tent is a triangular prism. So we start in the front with a triangle that looks like this. And then we're going to draw another triangle up and to the right a little bit. So we're going to start that point up here, and we're going to draw another triangle up and to the right that's just about the same size. You want those two to be similar in size so that when you draw your lines point to point, from this bottom right point, I'm going to go to the bottom right point of the one in front, and the same thing with this one over here. It's going to give us a triangular prism. And if you were to go back in here and erase that back triangle, you'll see it looks like a solid shape. And instead of a shape now, what we have is a form. A triangle is 2D, it's a shape. A triangular prism is 3D, it's a form. Okay, now to add the details to our tent, we're going to go ahead and put a little flap on it that will keep the rain off if it wants to rain. And you want this line to be parallel with this line for the flap. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, and I'm going to add the opening to the tent here at the front, like that. And the same thing, we're going to do a window here, and I want my line to be parallel with this line below, and the side of the window to be parallel with the front and the back. And that way it actually looks like it belongs. It doesn't look flat, it looks more three-dimensional. All right, now we're going to put some tent stakes out here. I'm going to make them nice and big. Remember, these are just triangles with ovals at the top. And this is where we're going to tie up our tent flap so it doesn't blow away, like that. Okay, easy enough. Now inside we are going to put our sleeping bag. And remember, the sleeping bag looks similar to what we had done with one of the seashells on our beach scene. So it's going to do like this, and you know what, I'm going to run out of space. So I'm going to have to make it really stubby. Like that, okay? And you can actually, since this is my opening here, and this is tent, and this is tent, you can make it look like it's disappearing behind that the part of the tent, so that you can't see so much of it.